Everything in life is story. Story is how we share ideas, politics, vision, fantasies, experiences, even our hopes and dreams. The Gibson Gazette is a podcast show devoted to story, those we consume, those we tell ourselves, and those told to us. Hello, hello, party people. This is your girl AMC on the mic. And I'm here with our boy LMG. What is good, my dear? How you doing?
Yeah, I am present and grateful. This is what we say when
Yes.
this is what we say when we don't want to complain. Present and grateful.
Church stomp. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I hear that.
Yeah, this has been a mixed bag of a week, and I have a lot of work on my plate coming up in the next 2 weeks. So I'm
Mm.
just kind of trying to prepare myself, zen myself for starting with the next 4 days. They're gonna be like back to back. Rock'em
Mm.
sock'em robot.
He
I've
went
definitely
there,
aged
Rocco
myself there.
Soccer.
Yeah, I definitely aged myself. I'm good with that. It is what it is.
That's it. It is what it is. I hear you though. It's been that type of week, really. And it's been up down. I think life, media, the world. I mean, it's nonstop, nonstop. So yeah,
I
I
mean,
feel
well,
you.
I
I
mean,
feel
as
you.
as we on the verge of another world war. Can I
Mm,
say war? Can I get it out
mhm.
my mouth? War. Another world war. Say that 3 times really fast. World war.
World War.
Oh,
Mhm.
look at you. Oh, looks okay, showing off.
Hey.
Yes. So as we are on the brink of that, as we kiki about that,
Mm.
yes, it's for those who may not be paying attention to anything in the global news, Russia began to invade the Ukraine today.
Mhm.
And for those who
Mhm.
don't know what that means, there is a wonderful TikTok video that's gone viral of a sister telling that in the most street terms possible. I have to figure
Oh,
out
I
I
have to
can
see
see if I can
that.
find. Yeah, I'll see if I can. What I'll do is I'll by the time this episode goes up, it will be in the description so that people can link to it. But it went viral, and she broke it down for the most hoodest of hoodest
Mm.
MF can figure out what it is that she's saying and what's going on. It is fun though. It is a very fun video, and of course I subscribed after I saw the video. Hmm.
Okay. Well, that did it then. That did it. So, what's on deck this week? Are we gonna check in? We're gonna start with the checking in. What stories have you been consuming over the last 2 weeks that you want our audience to know about? But not gonna go too deep into today. Like you go first today. I always go first. You go first, honey bunny.
Because you're just so good at it. You're just like, oh, you that one. Your mama watching, so listen. So I
Hmm.
can't be calling you that B, right?
I
Like,
can't. I
but
cannot.
I won't have your mama coming after me with machete.
She
But
feisty too, so
I've met her daughter, so of course I already know.
mm.
Um, so yeah, I have been checking out things like the what was it, the Tinder Swindler. That was a lot of fun.
Yes,
You
right?
know about what I pointed out, and it's on Netflix for those who don't know what we were talking about. Is a documentary about a con artist who has conned over $10 million, I think, worth of goods and money and trips and hotels and all kinds of things
Hmm.
out of women through Tinder. And
Right.
so the Tinder swindler, and when they finally caught up with him, because the documentary, so of course they caught up with him. He only ended up getting, I think, 2 years imprisonment, and only served 5 months of those 2 years in an Israeli jail, and
Insane.
got away with not really paying back significant restitution, and that all of his victims
Hmm.
are still paying off their bills from his fraud.
Yep.
So, but the thing that I told people that stood out to me the most about the Tinder Swindler documentary was the fact that
Mm.
all of these white women European white women, because a lot of his victims were from Europe, and literally from Europe,
Mhm.
were able to get multiple 5 and 6 figure loans, sometimes within the same week, from multiple banks. I'm like,
Crazy, right?
where can I get a $50,000 loan without significant collateral as a black man anywhere in the world like that? Much less like multiple. Like some of these women were able to get 5 and 6 figure loans from multiple different
Mhm.
banks, all within like a 2 and 3 week period, sometimes a month period. And that was as fascinating to me as what he did. And they were so nonchalant about it. I was getting scared. I was getting afraid as I was getting the next loan. And I'm like, but bitch, you was able to get the loan. How like how like I'm supposed to feel sorry for you? Like you're able to get the loan. Like you put all those loans together, you could have bought a house in some small town. Like what?
Sir, let me
What?
tell you. Oh my god.
Meanwhile, I can't get a down payment for a cat. So so I'm like, so that's where I was with the Tinder swindler.
Oh,
But we're not gonna go too much deeper than that. Like, I mean, what are you checking out?
man, you can say all that, and I can't say nothing about the Tinder swindler.
I
Listen,
mean, you
man,
can go ahead.
y'all
Go
just watch
ahead.
it, please. Just watch it. I mean, it was extremely fascinating to me because it was like another level of catfishing. Because at first I was like, y'all stupid, you're real stupid, and then I was like, but at the same time, you guys, usually with catfishing, you don't meet the person, you don't see the person, you only get the voice if you're lucky, right? In this instance, they met him. He took them,
On
sprinkled a
planes,
little trust
private
in the situation,
planes.
took them on a private plane,
Took them on
took them in
private
a
plane. Took them to fancy
hotel.
dinners.
That's right. Got a little
They all
booty
gave
that
it up on
first
the first
night.
night.
So
Everybody gave it up on the first night. Nobody waited.
everybody, it was that jet,
Everybody.
man. It was the jet. Okay. So these these chicks out here just like, oh, okay, it's life grandiose, looking for like $15,000
Child, they were
budget
trying to
rent
secure the
apartments.
bag. I mean,
Yes.
all con artists operate on hope and optimism, right? Like, and so
Mm-hmm.
he understood that the hope and optimism of these women was to be able to secure a reasonably attractive. I mean, he's not fine. He like,
No, but he's
okay,
not an ugly person
right? He
either, and
wasn't
he
an
was
ugly
well put
person, right?
together.
Like, right? He was well put together, very well dressed. They all talked about how he
Mm-hmm.
smelled. They all talked about the Rolex watches, the cologne,
The
the
fake Rolex
couture.
watches.
Well, I mean, yeah, the couture, so he was a very well put together person, and
Hmm.
he presented the hope, like the hope of lots of girls around the world are fed these kind of princess swept off their feet by the rich man fairy tales,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
he played upon that hope to get the money. So they're thinking they're securing the bag, and while he's actually securing the bag,
Right?
right?
While he's telling one chick, "Oh, the credit card is not working. It's not working. Please let it work. It has to work." The man is in like Ibiza, like chilling with his other model girlfriend, spending all the damn money. Like oh my god, y'all, just watch it, please. Watch it. And on the other end of that, I was obsessed with Inventing Anna. So you guys,
So are
if
we
you have,
sliding into? Are we still on the checking in, or are we on loving
we're
it?
gonna we're sliding in on the checking in actually.
Oh,
I
okay, we're still on
loved
checking in.
this, but we're gonna check
Okay.
in on this one. Yeah, you guys, Inventing Anna. So I mean, it's a Shondaland production. Does anything else need to be said? Really? It's Shonda. So wherever she is producing, writing, I'm there. So stemming off of her like huge deal from Netflix, she's bringing us the story of Anna Delvey, young Russian German, arrogant as ass, intelligent swindler. I'm gonna give her that because girl was smart. She was smart as hell. Not gonna take that away from her. And she pretended to be a fake heiress and descended upon New York socialite circles, and she conned her way all the way up through high society and business deals and everything, and she left a trail of unpaid hotel receipts. So that, and while you were talking about the Tinder swindler, I was like, you see these hotel receipts, bitch, people be looking at us about where's your credit card first day as soon as you get there and step in a hotel. And if you don't have a credit card, you're not getting a room. Miss Lady was like, "Oh, you know who I am. You know who I am." And that went very far. So that privilege, let me tell you, it got her far to the point where she was leaving all $30,000 hotel receipts in her trail. So, it was just nuts. It was crazy. So this whole thing was actually from New York Magazine. It was by journalist
Mm-hmm.
Jessica Pressler, and it took off. It took off. It was it was nuts. It really, really was nuts. And it was awesome to see our girl Ruth from Ozark, Julia Garner. She killed it. She really, really did.
She
Her
did, but she looks way better than the person that she's portraying. Like,
she does. She does. Honestly, she does. I'm gonna agree with you on that. Because when I had to go snooping on her Instagram after to see what she was about, and I was like, no.
I mean, but they kept, so that was one of the drawbacks for me. Like, they kept talking about she wasn't cute and she had a potato face, and of
She
course
wasn't
nobody,
that
she had the
bad.
that she had that was literally a quote from one of the people in the film, right? Like, that
Really?
she had a poppers, like, that
Oh
real
yeah, the
people with
guy.
money, right? Real people with money aren't cute like that, right? Like, they have
Yes.
inbred potato faces, and he was given, like,
Yes.
that she had that. Meanwhile, Ruth on Ozark is, I mean, she's not a stunningly beautiful person, but she is an attractive woman. Like, and
Mhm.
in some of
Mhm.
those shots, she was more than attractive. She was beautiful in some
Mhm.
shots. So yeah, that part was kind of like, y'all could have at least cast a regular, given an opportunity for a regular smegular girl, who
But
might
she
have been
has
able to nail that accent, because that accent was like, what's this accent, girl? What is you?
well, the thing
Girl,
is
what's
that
this
she was
accent?
half Russian and half German. So there's a video that's actually going around with what's her name? What's her real name? Julia
And
Garner.
Adele. Oh, okay, yeah,
Julia Garner, and
the actress.
she was talking about, yeah, the actress, and she was talking about how she loves to do accents, because really, Julie, I didn't even know that she had no accent. I thought she was toting that accent that Ruth has been that Ruth has been taking around with her all over Ozark. So to even hear her speak, just plain old regular English with no accent, I was like, oh, whoa. So the fact that she actually took that, she said that Anna Delvey's accent is actually a mishmash of Russian and German. So that's where that came from. And she was practicing that day in and day out. And she takes like pride and really likes to do accents. And it seems to suit her. I think it seems to suit her. She did a pretty good job to me. I think she did really well. And I have to mention the scene stealer too, Neff, her best friend, who's played by Alexis Floyd. She was stellar. I thought she was dope. She
The black
is
girl.
hilarious. Yes, yes.
Hmm.
She's from Cleveland. She was awesome. She was fantastic. So it was really interesting to watch. And then I was doing some reading, and she has a documentary that's coming out with the team from Bun and Murray Productions. So all the people that bring
Hmm.
you Surviving R. Kelly, Kardashians, and all of them people. She has a documentary coming up, and they're going to pick up from where Anna left off with Inventing Anna, and go into more of her day to day life after prison and how her life is going and
I
dealing
mean,
with her
right now, my
crimes and
understanding is
etc.
she's just fighting deportation, right? Like, that's kind of
Yeah, yeah. ICE has her on
while
lock right now.
right.
Hmm.
So that's been kind of the challenge there. And of course, as is, we talked about two different con artists. She actually served more years for her crime. Still not as many years as
Sure
anybody
did.
black would have gotten for doing that crime. But but still, she served more years than he did,
Hmm.
and has suffered more consequences as a result of her actions than he did. So,
Yep.
and is even paying more restitution. So my understanding is that, like, shit, I think she's got like 300,000 or something for this opportunity with Netflix.
Yeah, three
But
hundred and
most
twenty
of that,
thousand.
yeah, but most of that went to the restitution fund for the people she swindled. So
Right. Well, I
meanwhile,
mean, shit.
dude is doing business workshop webinars and workshops for people and coaching for people for hundreds of dollars a pop
I
in
saw a
Israel.
video of his this morning. how he's saying, "Oh, he's gonna move to Toronto," because if he it was going around socials, how he said, "Oh, my people, the people, what did he call them? The my enemies are following me, and my enemies are looking for me, so I'm gonna have to move to Toronto." Everybody was like, "Erks, nah, bro, don't come here."
Well, of course, he said he's going to sue Netflix. He's going to sue the
Yes, he
producers
did.
and everybody. Meanwhile, we like, bruh, the receipts on you are deep and vast. So, just be glad you got off the way you did, and you're still driving around in sports cars, and you're still wearing couture, and you're still
Hmm.
selling false dreams. So, patriarchy,
Yep,
gotta love it. The swiff, the
boy.
smell, patriarchy in the
Mm. Smells
air.
like voodoo.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with our next segment, loving it. So, but before we do that, let me remind you to be sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share on whatever platform you're listening to or watching us on. Also, comment or review where possible so that we can climb the charts of the various platform algorithms this show is on. Thank you.
Hmm.
All right, loving it. What are you loving, AMC?
Well, I am here for everything Jordan Peele today. Jordan has decided to drop his little trailer for his new movie coming out called Nope. And let me tell you, I'm quite intrigued. As usual, he just drops something that'll just pull you left, right, and center, and you have no idea what direction things are coming from. You don't know what the hell is going on, but he leaves you intrigued. And that's exactly what he did. He delivered a cryptic trailer, as per usual. He gives just enough information to have you questioning your fears and your sanity. Like I have to wonder sometimes where his mind goes when he's producing these things, um, and when he brings a project to life, because it's usually magnificent and terrifying, and also thought provoking, which is what I really love about his movies. So. Um, it starts with the trailer actually starts with Danielle Kalua and Kiki Palmer, and I think Stephen Ewan is in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so in typical fashion, there's not much to go off of, as I said earlier. If you watch a trailer, you're aware that it's a setting on a black ranch, and they're up against something that's in the sky. That's all you know. We don't know what exactly is going on. I mean, you figure it's aliens, right? So, but whatever the phenomena is, it's unnerved the horses. And when animals go crazy, that's when you should be on be on your mark, get ready and get set to go. We're all doomed. So,
Well, don't forget what the
um,
acronym stands for.
what?
Oh, you don't know what the
Nope,
acronym stands for?
I
Oh,
do
yeah.
not. That went over
Oh,
my
I
head.
love it
What?
when I can. Oh, I love it. I get to educate the
Please,
educator.
please, please, please. Yes, yes,
So,
please.
NOPE is an acronym, and it stands
Uh
for
huh.
Not of Planet Earth.
Well, then there it is, folks. There it is. I did not hear that or see that.
Yes, yes, yes.
Awesome. So it is extraterrestrials or whatever he wants to call
Hmm.
them, because he's gonna have something crazy. Or
Some
for all we
twist.
know, it might not even be, I was just about to say some Shyamalan business. It might not even be an extraterrestrial. So we just gotta wait for it and see what it's about. So but the other day, what caught me, of course, typical Jordan fashion again. So I don't know if everybody heard about the birds. Of course you did. I'm sure you did. The birds that fell out of the sky in
No, I actually
Mexico.
haven't heard about this. What
You
happened?
didn't? It was in
No.
I think it's Chihuahua, Mexico.
Mm-mm.
Chihuahua,
You
I
know, and
think.
I live in Mexico too. So
I'm
what
surprised
happened?
you didn't hear about that. Yeah, there was a large number of birds that were seen on security fitted footage, and they suddenly just dropped dead mid-flight and ran down from the sky. It rained down from the sky. It was crazy and it was creepy. If you see the video, they're just all flying, and then it's just a whole bunch of birds just cascading on people
So they
below.
hit something that was cloaked? Is that what we're
Some
saying?
people were saying that they're like, "Listen, what's going on?" But they're
I mean,
saying that
we have stealth bombers and things that can have cloaking technology. I don't know if
they
it
were
works like
saying,
Wonder Woman's invisible plane, but
imagine that.
You
Oh my
know,
god. But they were saying that the birds were actually trying to maneuver away from a predator, and then they all got dizzy in in their flight sequence and bumped into each other and dropped. So I'm like, and I fell off the banana truck yesterday.
listen, I'm ready for the aliens to come get us. We deserve whatever we got coming. I'm sorry. We are trash. Humans are trash. We don't deserve this planet anymore. Whatever's come get these
Oh
people, please.
man.
Aliens, come and get these folks.
Careful for what you wish for, man. Careful. I don't want no
Listen,
signs going on. I'm good. I'm good. Really. I just one thing at a time, man. We're still trying to like just pick up ourselves off the floor from COVID, and now we got to think about war. And it's like, can we
and the
can we just
SCOTUS
breathe?
and the Supreme Court is about
And
to take away Joe Biden's ability to affect climate change.
they're
Yep, that's on the horizon. So that's why I said we don't even deserve. We can't even do right by the planet. Like,
tired,
mm-mm. And when I say
tired.
humans are trash, I'm putting myself in that. My recycling and my conservation is trash too. So,
We not
I
down
here I
like
get.
that down
Listen, I
here.
got this plastic water bottle. Some Gen Z person is gonna attack me about. Like, yeah,
Same
you know,
here. Same here.
that's what.
But we
Like I
have our whole
said, them
recycling
aliens need to come
system and
on.
yada yada. I can't. I'm not even there with them. Nope, nope. But those we gotta find a video. I'll find a video and definitely post it so y'all can see. But it's creepy as hell. And of course the timing couldn't be more perfect. So Jordan retweeted it and of course put hashtag nope. And it feeds right into the trailer and the film. So again, we don't know what the hell's going on. When you see the trailer, you're like, nope, But we all want to see it, and we want to know what's going to come about from this whole entire film that's going to be presented to us on July 22nd in the
July
theaters.
22nd, I will definitely be there. So, I mean, before we go into my loving it, what were
Mhm.
your thoughts about Us and Get Out? Are you a fan of Peele's particular brand of horror?
I am. I am because I was really big. I'm really big on what he does. I like to see how he kind of makes everything his own and gives it his own little kind of vibe, like what he did with Twilight Zone. I loved it. I really did. I'm big on like Twilight Zone and Outer Limits. Those things were that was my shit back in the day, and I like the creepy things. And I like when creatives kind of take a vibe and, as I said, make it their own and put their own twist on it, so it's not your run of the mill horror. And ain't nothing wrong with the run of the mill horror. We like those too. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Scream, and because of the whole run of the mill horror story. But I loved, my favorite was Get Out. Get Out was it. It was it. Um, Us, I had a little trouble with at first, but then I watched it about 3, 4 times, and and it started to kinda, yeah, it sunk in. I was like,
Clearly, you didn't
"Okay,
have too much
okay,
problems to be able to give
alright."
it 3 or 4 more visitations.
I
Yeah.
liked it, I liked it. I did like it when I first saw it, but I just needed to understand more aspects of it, which I did as it went along. So, but yeah, I'm really excited to see what he's gonna do with this because it should be quite interesting. Yeah. I can't
All
wait. I'm
right.
looking forward to
Well,
it.
I'm looking forward to Nope. I'm a fan. I did like Get Out more than I like Us, but I enjoyed Us. I like people to take big swings.
Mhm.
And even if they miss, I appreciate the bravado and the effort to take the big swing. And I felt like Us worked more than it didn't work. So, and for such a big swing in that type of story, I appreciated it. I know some people didn't think it lived up to the promise, but I enjoyed
No,
it.
they didn't. Mhm.
So for me, I had like three different things, and
Oh boy.
I couldn't figure out which of the three I wanted to do. So I'm just gonna be brief about all three things. So one is a book that I'm reading. It's part of the Gibson Gazette book club. For those who don't know, we have our own book club. We've actually had it longer than we've had the podcast. So the book club is
Mhm.
in its 15th or 16th month, something like that. And our book of this month is Razor Blade Tears. by S.A. Cosby, Razor Blade Tears. And when it was first recommended by one of the other people in the book club, I was kind of like, I don't know, I don't know about this title. But
Mhm.
we give different people opportunities to make a choice. And the book itself is about two fathers, two cisgender heterosexual fathers, one black, one white, whose adult sons were married to each other and who were murdered. So the fathers, both of whom are ex-cons, and it's a hard-boiled in all of the senses of the word. It's a hard-boiled novel and film noir, crime noir tradition of like Graham Greene and uh, who else is God, I can't think of whose name all of a sudden, but it's definitely in the crime novel tradition, and
Mhm.
with a smidge, just a taste of Donald Goines. It's a taste of Iceberg Slim in there because the language is very edgy and sometimes uh, what's the word? I won't say perverse, but it's definitely um, coarse. There we go. Coarse. We'll go with coarse. There's definitely
Okay.
some
Okay.
coarse, I don't read a lot of like hood novels, but interestingly enough, our S.A. Cosby, who had a huge hit with a novel a few years back called Blacktop Wasteland, which was a New York Times bestseller,
Mhm.
is a literary writer. So the writing is very literary, but the content is street, right? Because these are
Okay.
Southerners, these are Virginia Southerners who are ex-cons who have bodies on them, who come from criminal backgrounds and families, and they're looking to see who they're looking to avenge their gay dead sons. And part of
Mm.
it is also that neither of them were supportive of their sons in their lifetimes, right? Like
Mhm.
so and they both regret that they weren't as supportive fathers to their gay sons. They didn't understand their gay sons. They have a lot of uh, regret, but also confusion, and even in trying to avenge their sons, they're also trying to understand who they were as men. And so
Mm.
it was interesting to see this kind of mashup. Very we're used to gay people being the victims, right? That's not new. That's not fresh. But to have fathers try to avenge their son's death, that is new. And to
Mhm.
try to
Mhm.
blend these genres, it's kind of LGBTQ queer novel with the crime story told from a heterosexual perspective it's different, and I've been enjoying it. I've been enjoying all of the acts, and it's already been optioned for film.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I say it's already a bestseller. It's already been optioned for film. So we will be seeing Razor Blade Tears as a limited series or a film. One, you never know with these things, right? Like how they're going to
Mhm.
carry it
Mhm.
out, but it has been going to have been optioned. The second thing I want to talk about was Jess and Niecy Nash's cover of Essence. Hopefully, by the time you've
It's
seen this, the
beautiful.
Black Women in Hollywood issue by Essence will
Mhm.
have hit the stands. The name of the cover story is A Love Like This. Niecy
Mhm.
Nash and Jessica Betts on Being Soulmates. And Niecy looks gorgeous. They both look gorgeous. They both look amazing. But,
Fantastic.
I'm
Yeah.
always happy to see Niecy Nash's glow up. Uh, I mean, she's because when she first came out, nobody was like, "Oh, Niecy Nash, this beauty," right? Like she was a
Mhm. Mhm.
comedian, and she always had a va va voom body, but people weren't like checking for her like that. Niecy Nash
No.
has had a glow up ever since for the last like maybe 5 to 10 with claws, and that
Yep.
shape is even more va va
She looks
voom.
fantastic.
The skin is luminous and clear, and and of course she got that
Got
love
that
glow, right?
glow.
She
That's
got that
it.
I am in
Exactly. She got that
she's got
glow.
that I am getting regular orgasms glow.
And she ain't mad either. Uh-huh.
Right, and for those who don't know, Nash has historically been married to cisgender heterosexual men. So this
That's
was the
right.
first time she'd ever been connected with a woman. First time she said she'd ever been with a woman, And even now, she doesn't identify as bisexual or lesbian or any of that. She just
Mhm.
identifies as somebody who fell in love with Jessica's soul. And friend of the podcast, Demetria Lucas, wrote the cover story for Essence for that. So it was beautiful. It was lovely. It was nice to see. Like this is an interesting time. So we got Razor Blade Tears, we got dads trying to avenge their gay sons. Well, now we got Essence magazine giving the black women in Hollywood, which is their major issue, to
Issue,
two
yeah.
black women in love. So interesting time to be queer. The last thing I want to talk about,
Oh boy,
and
he's
people may
exhaling
question why
now.
this is in the loving it section. Y'all may be
Okay.
wondering why this is not in the just know section of our podcast. And now I want you to stick with me. So Anthony Hamilton and Music Soul Child had a versus for Valentine's.
Mhm.
And for those who could endure the caterwauling of Music Soul Child, the flatness, the unearned confidence, the the vocal runs that ran into brick walls.
I'm
Um,
just gonna sip on my water.
my, I then already know what I'm talking about. Anthony Hamilton, though music folks definitely could pick it out. He was Anthony was in great sound good, like his tone was beautiful. Anthony has an amazing tone if you like Anthony's tone. But Anthony was also singing things about a half step to a whole step lower than he normally sings some of these songs. So he
Mm.
wasn't even in his full best voice, and he still completely wiped the floor with Music Soul Child. Now I know some people say versus is for the
I was a given.
culture, versus isn't a competition.
Uh-huh.
But when you have this unevenness, when you have such a dramatic unevenness, now Music Soul Child is one of my favorite artists of the early 2000s. He is one of my favorite neo soul artists. I thought when he first came out, I'm gonna, and some people are gonna say this is blasphemy, but I thought he might get to a Stevie Wonder kind of level, and those first three albums back to back were such love. Like they were so amazing, so rich. The
They were hard,
ideas, the
yeah.
harmonies,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
stacking, the lead vocal runs, like everything was just like coming together. Amazing writers like Eric Roberson writing on it, you know,
Mhm.
um, and producers James Poyser and other people from Philly was writing on it. Carvin Higgins. I mean, there's so many people that was just
And
like
Aries
killing it
on
for
there.
him.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so, but if you've never seen Music Soul Child live, then you might want to cry a little bit. Like so here's the thing. I was defending this match because people were like they're unevenly yoked from day one, and I was like, "Are you crazy?" Music Soul has all these amazing songs. Even the albums that aren't great have some bangers on the songs, on the
Mhm.
albums.
Mhm.
So I wasn't understanding kind of everybody's like, "Oh, Anthony's just gonna kill it," and I was like, I don't agree with that. But I had seen music with Mary J. Blige on her Love and Life tour back when she had
Mhm.
did her comeback album with Puffy, and it was the early aughts, and maybe like about 2007, 2008, and maybe 2006. I don't know, somewhere in there. And music was there, and he was in good voice. Now he had killer background singers who were definitely
Mm.
providing him support and doing some heavy lifting, right? Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
but he was able to hold his own. It wasn't as good as the record, but it was not embarrassing. I now believe that that was a piped in vocal a la Mariah Carey. I no longer believe I no longer believe that I heard Music Soul Child live.
It was
I believe
mailed
he
in,
was
huh?
lips I believe he was lip syncing for his life and that those vocals were
Mm.
piped in because baby, let me or somebody was with there with the Pro Tools, a half step, a half second before
Mm.
every run and was correcting. Something was because the person I saw on the verses isn't a bad night. The singers can have a bad night, But even singers who have a bad night can hear themselves. They can hear that they're flat. They can hear that they're entering songs in the wrong key and the wrong note. They can hear that when they are trying to scat, the man tried to scat. Why are you trying to scat and you can't, you're not in voice, sir? Why are you scatting
I
flat?
can't
Why
even
are you
like.
trying to, you not Ella? It's not, it's disrespectful. My ears left me. They went on sabbatical. They said they will return once I have turned off the verses, that they are through with me.
Oh
And
man.
don't change. I mean, this is how much of a fan I am of music. Don't change. The first time I heard it, I literally cried. I thought it was one of the most beautiful songs I'd ever heard.
And then the video to
And
go with that
and so I held on for
was
Don't Change
beautiful.
because it's like maybe he will redeem himself. I know a lot of people was waiting for Love. I already knew he wasn't gonna be able to do Love. There's a high note on Love that
Uh-uh.
mm-mm, no,
Mm-mm.
wasn't I wasn't there for that. But I was there for Don't Change. And he entered Don't Change all wrong. And I already just knew. I knew it was and after that I had to turn it off. So the reason why it is in Loving It is one because Anthony Hamilton brought it and he brought out the squad. He brought out Kevin Ross. He brought out, I think, Raheem Devon. He brought out Eric Roberson.
Sweet.
He brought out the Hamiltons,
That's
who you
true.
just
Everybody
know,
came out. Forget
right?
it.
You
It's
just know
done.
the Hamiltons were in the background clowning. You just know every time music sung, they were probably hitting each other, falling out laughing, like, what is this Negro doing? But the reason
Mm-mm.
why this is in Loving It also is because I went back to go back and listen to those albums that I loved to restore, redeem, refresh my spirit of the horror that I had been, the trauma that my ears had endured to fall back in love with Music Soul Child. So I encourage you to go and fall back in love again with Music Soul Child. Go back and listen to those early albums. Even listen to songs that were amazing but weren't on great albums like Yes. Yet the answer is yes. Is just amazing. Teach Me How to Love. Even
Mm.
crazy stuff like Buddy. Like, go back and fall in
Yeah.
love again with Music Soul Child, so you too can love him again and forget
Mm,
that he put
mm,
us through
mm,
that. We have to give grace. Grace is sufficient.
mm, mm,
We have to give
mm.
grace to music for that, and that's my loving
I am really happy that I didn't put myself through that because that was the reason why I didn't put myself through that because I knew. Lord, please forgive me. I love Music Soldier. Same way you do. I ditto every single word you said about his albums, everything. When I heard him live on something, I can't even remember what it was. He was singing the song, and I watched the entire performance like this. I was tense, like this, because I was like, okay, I'm throwing him into Frank Ocean slash The Weekend slash all of them cats that need all kind of pro tools in order to get their live show going. These are people I will not see live for the life of me. He was on that list. And the way that I've heard friends of mine complain after they went to a concert, and these are like music aficionados, you know how snobby.
it.
And I said, no, I'm not doing that to myself because I love him. So I'm going to keep him in the same little wrap, bubble cellophane wrap that I have in my mind and keep him in that same spot like when I listen to his albums because I don't want to lose that shiny, new smell of a new car smell kind of feel that I have with him. I knew that was gonna happen if I watched this thing because I knew Anthony Hamilton would tear him up. Are you kidding me?
It
Anthony
was it was
Hamilton.
bloody. It was
Come
bloody.
on, man.
There was blood
No.
in the water.
As
It
much as I
really
wanted to
was.
watch it, I'm sure I believe he was like Piranha. I ain't doing it. No, I'm
I
good.
mean, and the thing at one point, I literally screamed at this TV and said, "How can you can't hear that? How are you not able to hear that, sir? I mean, it was so aggressive. And I mean,
Oh
because it
no.
wasn't like he was Janae Aiko kind of subtle in the background with it, right? Like he was very aggressively loud, loud and wrong, like just loud and wrong. And he couldn't hear any of it. And I was just like, how are you worse than Shaka was when she was allegedly high or drunk on her
Oh
verses?
boy. Mm-mm,
Right?
mm-mm,
Like at least Shaka
mm-mm.
could hear. Like he could not hear himself at all. He was completely
That's
tone deaf.
that
Completely tone deaf.
sucks.
So
Listen to
anyway, we're
those
not gonna beat
albums
up on
though.
him though. Yes, go back, fall back in love again,
Yes.
to 143, to have crazy,
Oh,
to
my jam. Mm,
who knows. It's just so many moment in life. I mean, there's so many things that he's gifted us with.
mm-hmm.
And we want to give honorary Grammys to every engineer, every producer, every songwriter, arranger, and background vocalist who has worked with Music Soul Child. We want to
Oh my
thank you
goodness.
for your
Oh,
service because without you, we would not have the gift of those songs because clearly
mm.
he was not enough. We always tell people that you are everything you need. That is not true in the case of Music Soul Child.
Woo woo woo.
He needs the village. The village is his friend, the musical village. Thank you for your service, musical village. We are going to get you those honorary Grammys.
Oh my god.
All right. So
Whew.
it's complicated. We're going for it's complicated. God, these are stories for those who don't know. We totally did not introduce ourselves to the audience. We just assumed everybody
Yeah,
just
we
already
did.
know us. We
Yes,
friends.
we
I
did.
did not. I don't remember saying I'm L.
You
Michael
did.
Gibson co-host, and I don't remember saying you was Ed Marie Collymore co-host. We just was like, "Hey, people, we already know us. Y'all here at the cookout." We was real ghetto with it. But anyway, we're gonna keep it
Oh
moving
my
since we done already messed it up.
gosh.
We're more than halfway through the show. Uh,
Let's do
it's
this.
complicated. These are stories we have mixed feelings about, but we love certain aspects of. So, AMC, what are you feeling it's complicated about?
Okay. So I'm sure a lot of people on Facebook and Instagram have heard me speak about this ad nauseum, and I want to discuss the remake disease, as I like to call it, that Hollywood has. I feel like, don't get me wrong now, there are always going to be remakes. I get it. I know, but I know I'm not alone. And please, of course, I'm going to ask you what you think, but I'm just kind of exhausted with the amount of remakes that we've been privy to for the past, I don't even know when it started, but I feel like
For
for
like
the
the entire
past like
century.
few, man,
I feel like this
I
whole century has been
feel
just remakes.
it's just been, yeah, one after the other, and they continue to roll out relentlessly. So I'm like, well, for some people, they argue that the movie and TV remakes introduce like a whole new era to all of like the past faves, and I'm like, yes, I could see that, but then again, like, whatever happened to watching the old damn movie? And the initial piece of work was perfect. It was great, and we learned from that. We did. I mean, there's some again. There are some a lot of remakes when we were growing up. There was King Kong, Psycho, Planet of the Apes, The Star Is Born has been done a gazillion times. I even in reading, I didn't even know The Departed was a remake. I love that movie. I think it's
I
fantastic.
have the originals, the Korean originals that
Really,
is
the
based
Korean?
on
Yeah.
Internal Affairs
Yes,
series.
I had
Hmm.
no idea. So yes, of course there are. There are definitely remakes, and we understand that. But to have like 10 versions of one movie. I'm like, what is, and especially now, I just feel like there's no need to chop and screw everything just to pacify an audience. It's great to learn about those that were creative back then, and thinking about what they had to work with compared to what we have now with CGI and this and that and all kinds of different things at our disposal. It's totally different when you watch King Kong in black and white and then you watch King Kong with Jessica Lange and Mr. Bridges. It's a totally different fiasco. And then you fast forward to like Brody and what's her name that was in the last one there, that Peter
Oh, see,
Jackson
there
did.
was one in between. So either Jessica Lange's one was like 1979 or something like that. The
Mm-hmm.
original King Kong was like in the 30s, and then there
30s, yeah.
was one that happened with Naomi Watts, I want to say.
Yeah. Oh, that's what
And
it was. Naomi
right,
Watts
there was
and
yeah,
Adrian Brody. Hmm.
and then so I guess I want to get clarity because you said something that also kind of might confuse some of the listeners to think that you might be speaking of franchises. So do you have an issue with franchises, or is it the rebooting by
It's the
remaking the origin story
rebooting.
all the way from beginning?
It's the rebooting of, not even all the way from the beginning. It's just the rebooting of movies, because I feel that lately it's not even like origins like Planet of the Apes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Not
Hmm.
and Spider-Man. I'm not those. Um but when you go into Jumanji was an old, like old, and I use
I'm
air
about to say
quotes. Lord keep y'all. I'm not.
I
That's
was a
not old.
young adult when Jumanji came out. Let's not say
That's what I'm
old.
saying. It's not old. It's not old. It's recent.
let's let's not do
So
that.
listen, you just told people about your age, all right?
Well,
So
I mean, because there are some people who were not born when that first Jumanji came out, but I still do not feel
imagine,
like it was we're talking the 90s. For those who may not know,
right?
there was a Jumanji. I think Robin Williams was in the
Robin
Jumanji,
Williams, yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
to make a distinction between the Dwayne Rock Johnson Jumanjis um,
Mm-hmm.
that came out in the aughts. So
Right. And then like Overboard. Overboard is another one. Like I mean, Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell, that was classic. And then a new one was made 2, 3, I think it was about 3 years ago. Which actually I watched it. It wasn't bad, but
wasn't it with
I'm
Kate Hudson, her daughter? Didn't her daughter star in that one?
no, it was with let me
I
see her
remember
face.
when it
Anna
came out.
Faris. Anna
Anna
Faris.
Faris. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
can see why
Anna
that would
Faris.
work.
So yeah, I was like, okay, it was cute. So now coming up, I which is what this is what initially started my rant was, I saw that there was a house party coming up. Did you know that there was a reboot
I
for
did
House
not.
Party?
I did not, and I
God,
don't know
why? Just
why.
why? And then I read somewhere that Love Jones was floating in the air. They were thinking of doing that over. Please leave Darius and Nina alone. Please, like, don't do it. And then there's a Fatal Attraction television series coming up with Joshua Jackson. Now I love him. He was stellar in Doctor Death, but that's the only reason why I would most probably watch it. But I am team Glenn Close and Michael Douglas. Like, you can't do Fatal Attraction.
Yeah, I like them in
Come on.
Fringe, but not enough to invest in this. I mean, so here's my thinking. Or are you? I don't want to cut you off. Are you done with that?
I
What
just
are?
I my whole what bothers me is that there's just a lot of dope creatives that are coming up, and they have a lot of elaborated, twisted, fun, and interesting ideas. And we've seen how they get kind of like chopped off at the legs already with, like Matt Damon and his movie thing and that whole controversy that went on, right? So why can't we hear excuse me, from why doesn't Hollywood feel like they can invest the funds in not just BIPOC, of course, but BIPOC is on the top of my list, but just in creatives that are coming up with new ideas and that are willing to do these blockbuster movies and have so many different things that they can put on the table rather than just constantly rebooting. Like there's so many other things that we can get into if we actually lay the foundation and support the creatives that are coming up now, rather than taking the same damn story and regurgitating it and putting, the same actors that are out there doing the same damn thing into these movies. So what do you think is the issue? Do we need more movie incubators? Especially you're a big movie fan. So from your perspective, what do you think can be done in terms of supports and outlets for indie projects to thrive, for people to get their foot in the door?
I mean, I don't necessarily. Well, so I'm. People who follow me on Facebook know that I often have negative things to say when a reboot is announced. Right. My knee
Mhm.
jerk reaction is usually why WTF. this is unnecessary.
Same.
Who asked for this? I often
Who
say
asked
who
for
asked
this?
for
Yeah,
this.
I've seen that a lot.
Um, so so I can't act like that's not my impetus. That's not my knee jerk reaction usually. But there have been franchises that have been rebooted that I enjoyed better than the original. I was not a fan growing up of Planet of the Apes. It would come on TV ad nauseum, and
Yep.
with Charlton Heston and that awful makeup and those awful backgrounds.
The
And I was just like,
masks. I
and I know people
know.
who will fight me on this because they absolutely grew up and loved those original Planet of the Apes. I thought they were trash. I could not, for the life of me, get into them as a child. Now, I understand that maybe the socio-political stories that they were telling were a little bit more biting than the ones that
Mhm.
were rebooted, but I loved the reboot with Mark Wahlberg
Same.
and
Same.
and
Yeah.
um,
All of them.
Caesar. I bought it. I mean, even the last one, I thought I thought the last one deserved an Academy Award. Like I thought
It's
it was
fantastic.
that good.
Hmm.
The quality of it, the storytelling of it was so rich, so top notch. Everything about it, I just thought was brilliant. So
Hmm.
there are times in which I may be like, ugh, who wants this? Blah, I can't. And then I end up loving it. Now there are times in which it doesn't work. Like I remember when they remade the Stepford Wives, and they made it into kind of like a comedy, and it kind of was campy. It kind of worked in that way, but it wasn't biting enough to be good camp, and it wasn't dark enough to be a horror story, which is what it originally was.
Yeah.
And so that was with Nicole Kidman, and the
Oh
original started
yes, I
Catherine
know.
Ross.
Hmm.
And so so it just depends. It's funny because my It's Complicated is also going to be a reboot or a reimagining of something.
Hmm.
I In terms of the creativity piece, I mean there is some very real economics involved in deciding to select brands that already have built-in nostalgia, intellectual properties that already have been bought and paid for several times over.
Right. Hmm.
So from the industry standpoint, they feel like they're taking less risks with a proven entity that has already demonstrated that it could be successful. You're already going to have some people who are going to go either to hate watch it or because they want to see whether or not they mess it up or enjoyed it, whatever. So you already have a built-in audience in that way. Then you have younger people who get to see it done with all of the new bells and whistles that they come to expect with CGI and all of that. So I think
Hmm.
that there
Hmm.
is, I mean, and then the sheer amount of money for a lot of movies today. I mean, we've relegated movies under $50 million to the television, to streaming services, I mean, countless. I have I have my little bootleg. I'm always talking about my handy dandy internet. That's my code for bootleg, people. The handy dandy internet. So my handy dandy internet shows me scores of new movies that come out every week. Scores, literally, of titles that I never click on. And I don't click
Hmm.
on them because I don't know anything about these movies. I ain't heard about these movies. Maybe they ain't get a commercial. Maybe they ain't get no promo. I ain't seen no
Hmm.
critic write about it.
Right.
And so
Right.
but if it's a title that I know, if it's a property that I know, I might be like,
You're
let me
gonna
see
click
what
on
they
it.
did. What's what they do with this.
Hmm.
Even if I'm
Hmm.
skeptical. So they win either way. They get the eyes on the product. So I understand from that standpoint why Hollywood might hedge its bets with so much more at risk financially on entities that already have intellectual property. That's why I was asking you, like, are you talking about like Halloween 35, or are you
Nope.
talking about, the
Because
remake of Planet of the Apes again? Because they're going to redo it again in 10 years, right? Like,
of
they're
course
going
they
to
will.
do
I'm sure.
redo Planet,
Of
even though the
course.
last one is just perfect. I mean, we're what Batman comes out tomorrow, right? Like,
Oh God. Yeah. I'm
and there's a
not
three
even.
hour Batman, and this with
Christian
emo.
Bale is it for me. That's it.
I mean,
Like
which is,
that was perfect to me.
and I
So
don't
I'm
know that
like,
I
I'm
can
good.
watch emo Batman with Richard Pattinson. I just,
No, not doing it. I'm good. I'm not doing it.
but
It's not gonna be
anyway,
done.
I mean, and I hate it because I love Zoe Kravitz as she's playing Catwoman, but I just,
Just yeah. Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, if it hits my handy dandy internet, I might be
Yeah,
inclined to see
you
it
know.
there.
Let me
But
find it, Badu. But no.
but yeah, I mean,
Mm-mm.
so I think that it's complicated to you know to the point of the segment that
Right.
I do wish we had more original stories, but I also see my behavior as a consumer, unless it's like a limited series that's getting the featured treatment on Netflix or the featured treatment on my Apple streamer, where I'm like, oh, okay, they're featuring this. This is like getting promo time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because you think about how many new things hit our streaming services every
Oh my
month,
gosh, it's crazy.
and we don't check any of that stuff out unless it's like top 10 or featured or somebody tell us about it. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we're to
True, true.
blame.
We are a part of the system. Yes, yes. You are
If
100%
we pay
correct.
more for Power of the Dog than we would for Planet of the Apes Part 15, then you know maybe they would stop. Maybe they make more Power of the Dog. I mean, even something like Moonlight, which did make back its money,
True.
I think at
True.
the box office it might have only got to 25 to 30 million dollars in box
Really?
office for movie of the. I mean, now granted, it was made on like $3.5 million, so that's a very healthy profit, right? That's like
Yes,
this,
yes, yes, it
you
is.
know.
But I'm not even thinking
But
about profit. I'm just like,
when you
wow,
think
I
about like
didn't.
people going to see something and spending their money on
Yeah,
it, you know, even with the Academy Award winning film for Best Picture of the Year, it didn't get $100 million. You know, La La Land
true,
did,
true.
which is its own separate thing, which came out that same year, and had tried to steal my baby's award. But
Sure did.
that's another thing. All right. So mine is kind of similar. I don't know. We did not coordinate this, people. We just, in fact, I was very last minute with putting my stuff in. So the casting of the film version of the Alice Walker musical, presented by Oprah Winfrey, The Color
Mhm.
Purple, has been announced and will feature the vocal talents of Fantasia S. Seeley, a role originated on Broadway by LaChance and perfected, if I do say so myself, by Tony Award winner Cynthia Erivo
Oh
for the
yeah.
role in the most recent revival that was directed by John Doyle. I'm speaking to the other Broadway nerds there. Um, Award winning uh, Danielle Brooks is also going to revive her role as Miss Sophia. Those of you who ever have seen Peacemaker or Orange is the New Black have been privy to Danielle Brooks' amazing talents. And if you haven't heard her sing, she has an amazing song called I think I'm a Woman, that was like a smash for me personally. It wasn't like a smash on the charts, unfortunately, but it was a smash for me about 2 3 years ago in 2019. So you can hear her blow. She also did Mahalia recently. She was Mahalia Jackson, for those who might have seen that on Lifetime when they did the Mahalia Jackson
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
story. And her, the singer, her is Squeak. Coleman Domingo is Mister. And Taraji, I can't even get it out of my mouth all the way good.
Ooh.
Taraji P. Henson as Suge Avery. A role
Ay, ay, ay.
originated on Broadway, the musical by Elizabeth Withers, and performed by such singers, gonna emphasize singers,
Sangers.
as Jennifer Hudson, Heather
Mm,
Headley,
mm,
and Jennifer Holliday.
mm.
Singers all. Now, I love me some Taraji. This is not hate towards Taraji. I love you, Miss Taraji. But her
We did.
terrifically bad interpretation of Miss Hannigan on Annie Live is all I can think about when I was told that she would be playing Miss Suge Avery. And some of you who never seen the Broadway musical, she was played deliciously by Margaret Avery in the Steven Spielberg film with Whoopi as Miss Seeley. But that is not the exact same film that we're talking about now. This is the musical, the Broadway musical version, which has some things in common with the film, but actually has more in common with Alice Walker's original novel, including a lot of the queerness that was taken out of the film that is implicit
Mhm,
into,
mhm.
and some of the redemption story from Mister. For those of you who hated Mister all of your life, you may not know that he actually does get redeemed in the book and is redeemed in the musical. Just not so much in Steven Spielberg film. In any
Hallelujah.
case, the thought of Shug Avery by Taraji P. Henson brought to mind Russell Crowe as Javert, ruining
Oh.
the otherwise perfect film that was Les Mis with a vocal only a mother could love. Like Javert, Shug Avery is a major role with solos and duet songs that require powerful, technically precise vocals. Now, Shug in the musical doesn't have to sing the iconic songs from the Quincy Jones canon like Sister or God is Trying to Tell You Something. Those are not in this play. I've had to say that to people because every time I've seen the Broadway version of the show, somebody black around me is like, when they gonna sing God's Trying to Tell Me Something and Sister? It's not. They're not in the show. It's a different show.
It's not that type of
Um,
show.
right. So Taraji doesn't have to tackle Tata Vega or Margaret Avery's vocal prowess on those because that would be laughable. We're not asking her to do all of that. But these songs written by Brenda Russell, Allie Willis, excuse me, and Stephen Bray. She does still have a big production number called "Push the Button" and a powerhouse duet called "What About Love," where she has to match energies with Fantasia. She's got to match energies. Now, come on now, y'all. We're going to have
Mm-mm.
church up in here real quick. Now, y'all know where Miss Fantasia can go when she gets the spirit. Y'all really
Mm.
feel like Taraji P. Henson is going to be able to match energies with Fantasia on a big powerhouse duet. I feel like there's a Music Soul Child Anthony Hamilton moment about to happen all over again
Oh
up in this
boy.
musical. Now, now, what we can pray for, what we can pray for. Well, let me first say, I am utterly delighted that they are going to be filming this. Brilliant piece of American theater because I have seen it several times. I do love this musical, and not just a
Mm.
Black American theater, American theater. But unless they Marnie Nixon Taraji, I'm already prepared to feel away. And as Crow has already demonstrated in Les Mis, all it takes is one bum singer in a leading role. I'm not talking about a small role, leading role to ruin a whole show. Now, as an aside, for those who don't know what I mean by Marnie Nixon, Marnie Nixon was the dubbed in soprano voice of Natalie Woods in the original West Side Story, of Audrey Hepburn in Lerner and Lowe's My Fair Lady, and Deborah Kerr in Rodgers and Hammerstein's The King and I.
Mm.
Because what we understood back in classic Hollywood is if you hire somebody who can't sing, you make them lip sync for their life.
Bring
So
that
now
Milli Vanilli on.
you bring on the Milli Vanilli. Now, all
Wow.
named actresses cast in those musicals that could not sing, but Marnie was the queen of the ghost singers. She was required to
Mhm.
even sign contracts and things that said she would not even let it be known, and until it came out some decades later that she was singing for those women. And that's what we need for Taraji. We need a Marnie Nixon black version,
Mm.
so she might be able to pull off the va va voom of Shug Avery. And that's it. What do you
Mm.
think, Miss AMC?
Yeah, when I heard that lineup, I was like, that's amazing. And then when I started to break it down, I went, oh, there's some holes in there. Just, I said, don't spit out that water now. But it's true. You just went
You know,
through
I almost
everything.
spit
And
all over this Apple computer, girl. I'd have had to send you a bill. I'd have had to send you a bill. You almost wrecked my stuff, my whole setup.
but it's true. And the fact that you even went there with Russell Crowe. Oh my,
Because I am
listen.
still. What that movie is like? What almost 10 years ago? I am still heated.
Yes.
I am
Oh no,
still
you're not
heated
the only one.
because
You are
I
not the
love
only
Les
one.
Mis. And I love those songs that Javert has. I actually sung stars in undergrad when I was a musical theater
Oh
major. Like I
man.
love
Oh
those songs. So I
man.
was hurt. I was so hurt when
I
they
just
didn't Marnie Nixon him. I was like, why?
it's so bad. It was so bad. Like he ruined the film for me. He really did. I thought the film was great, but that just Didn't do
I mean,
it
they
for
can,
me.
Hollywood producers, whoever is in charge of whoever owns the intellectual property that is Les Mis, the film. If you re-release it as a special edition with newly overdubbed vocals for Russell Crowe, I promise you're gonna make your money back. I promise you that the Les Mis fans will line up in droves, get like a Norm Lewis, get like a Joshua Henry, get somebody who
Oh
can
my
sing to overdub him. We will buy that. We will buy the Blu-ray. We will buy the Ultra HD K, 4K, 5K, whatever the K is. We will buy it.
God.
We will purchase it.
My man is desperate, y'all. He's desperate.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
who do you think should be the stand-in for the cover up for Miss Taraji? I mean, the support system, if you will. What voices?
You know what? I saw Heather, and I'm a big fan of Elizabeth Withers' original vocal. And Elizabeth Withers doesn't get a lot of credit like she should. She also had a really good album come out around that period I reviewed for Soul Tracks back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I have Heather's voice was too heavy. She was perfect for Push the Button, and she was perfect for What About Love, because like she could match energies with Cynthia Erivo,
Yeah.
for those big numbers. But there's a softness and a delicacy to Too Beautiful for Words, which is a ballad. There's this the sister ballad, right? Like it's where sister
Mm-hmm.
would have been for
Mm-hmm.
people who want the moment in their head. uh Too Beautiful for Words is such a sweet lullaby of a song that it needs a lighter touch. And I actually wish I could have seen Jennifer Holliday sing it,
Oh my
because when
gosh.
Jennifer goes soft, now everybody know her about her growling and when she about to eat the mic. But Jennifer Holliday, when she sings soft, it's one of the sweetest sounds. And I would have
Mm.
loved to have seen that vocal or heard that vocal anywhere of her singing Too Beautiful for Words, because it's one of my favorite songs from that show. What about you? Who would you have liked to have heard? Like a Jasmine Sullivan?
I don't even. I'm big on Heather Headley. I'm a huge Heather Headley fan, and Elizabeth as well. And it's
No,
funny
what
you
you
said that she
calling the
doesn't
lady?
get
You calling her Heedley? You calling
Headley. Sorry, I always say Headley. I always mash up the poor woman's name.
Y'all
Sorry.
better heed what Miss Heather have to say. Heed her. Heed Heather.
Oh my god, her
No.
album, her debut album was fantastic from beginning to end for me. Loved it. So,
Mhm.
ever since then, and her vocals are sick. They're just insane. Um, But it's funny that you said that Elizabeth Withers doesn't get her props, because I don't know if you saw on Facebook. Um, her it I think when the announcement came out, a lot of people were making a lot of noise, and I think to this tune that we're discussing right now.
Mhm.
And she was saying, I am blessed, and I loved the fact that I was able to play such an amazing part. And because everybody was saying, why didn't you just get Elizabeth to play it again? Like, straight up, that's it. And she said, she's in a good place. And it was a kind of read between the lines kind of note that she left, saying
Mhm.
that she's good. It's all good. Keep it moving. Let's go.
Look, I've
Shouts
interviewed
to
Elizabeth
Elizabeth,
Withers
though.
before.
She's
No, I've worked with her before, and she has a little bit of an edge to her. So I'm not surprised. I think I was hired to write a bio for her back in the
uh,
day, and or something along those lines, because I remember working with her and interviewing her for it. And yeah, she's got a little bit of a bite, and she's very confident. Mama is
extremely
confident.
confident. Yeah, why the hell
So,
not? Do you, girl?
mhm,
I mean, she's got the shit to back it up. You know what I mean? So
mhm,
I
she
mean,
does.
yeah. So shouts to her. But yeah, I mean, I think those are the voices, because I know how they are, and the range, and who they can kind of support, go against, and mesh with. I don't. This is just a bad scene. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry, Taraji and Fanny. That's a bad scene. Fantasia don't even need anybody to support or do anything. At that point, Taraji should just sit down in the corner and just wait for the whole scene to pass, because I just don't see how this is gonna work. It's gonna be interesting, and if you say they're videotaping it, I will be there with my popcorn and my glass of wine, scandal style, and I will sit down and watch and see what transpires. And I send all love and praises and prayers to Taraji.
I mean, and to be clear, I think when Taraji does the "you show is ugly" and all of that, it's going to be a laugh riot because Taraji knows how to get her laughs,
Hmm,
and
hmm.
and she, I mean,
Has she done anything on Broadway before? I don't recall. Like Taraji, I don't think so,
no.
right?
I mean, though she's trained. I mean, she went to Howard University's Fine Arts
Uh huh.
Department, right? Like, so she's
Yeah.
trained in theater. And people don't always know that about Taraji, but she's formally trained. It's just a matter. I mean, like she's got the acting chops, but the other part of it is, Suge Avery's supposed to be like the sexiest woman in town. I mean, and Taraji is beautiful. We just got to see, child. We just got to see. We
I
just got
think
to
she could pull
see.
it off. I
We
think
just
if
got to
anything,
see.
it's the singing and whatnot that she might just have a little bit of, you know, conflict or trying to be nice and find the words. But just
We gonna
I
go ahead.
think
We gonna
those
go to you, child. We gonna go to you to your next one because the people gonna think we beating up on Taraji.
we're not. We love Taraji, y'all. We really, really do. It's just gonna be interesting to see. That's it. That's all. We're gonna leave it at that.
I just
That's it.
wish people had the discernment to stay in their lanes. I mean, and especially when the lane is as wide as Taraji P. Henson's. I mean, she's played old women in Benjamin Button, and then she played, Pam Grier like character in Proud Mary. I mean, so Taraji got some
Mhm.
range.
She
I just
does.
don't. I just feel like this should have been one of those ones where Jesus tapped her on the shoulder and said, "No, sis,
Oh.
this ain't
Mm.
your ministry. This right here, you got plenty. You have an abundance of ministries, but this
Mm,
musical
mm,
theater
mm.
ministry is not your ministry." So I
We'll
look forward
see.
to Taraji making me eat my words. That would not be the first time I have been wrong, and I want to eat my words. I want to be wrong. Spirit says I will not be wrong, but I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong.
We shall see. That's all we can say.
All
Oh
right.
my god.
So just know these are stories that we have hated or have harsh critiques for. This is where
Hmm.
we go in. We have been a little potty mouth today, but we usually go pretty potty mouth around the just know. So you might want to turn this off if you have small children around. Go ahead on.
Yeah.
What is your
Yes.
just know AMC?
So, guys, okay, I'm gonna go with a little bit of Toronto culture here. And this may sound a little funny to y'all at first, but just ride with me on this one. So, yesterday we learned that there was going to be the death to the best patty house here in Toronto. So y'all know what a patty is, right? I don't have to go into explanations.
Yeah, you do for all of us who are not from
I should.
Canada.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let me. Okay. So if y'all look it up, and let me be specific, a Jamaican patty is a lovely, beautiful piece of love and I can't even find the words, but it's a golden, buttery, lovely crust, and inside of this crust, you can think of it kind of like a Italian calzone if you want. But inside of the crust, there's a filling, and it's a ground beef filling. But it isn't just ground beef. You can have different flavors. So you can have a vegetarian. You can have saltfish, or what you guys would know maybe as codfish. We call it saltfish. Um, shrimp, curry shrimp. You can have all different types of things. Depends on what people want to put in their patty. So yesterday, this turned into a huge, major discussion, and it was actually Jamaican Patty Day, no less, over here. Okay, so we're really serious about our patties down here, and we learned that an iconic family-owned Toronto shop is going to be shutting down their doors on this Saturday. We just learned yesterday. This place is shutting down this Saturday after 43 years. Now, it's called Randy's. Excuse me. And they opened in 1979 in Little Jamaica. So we have an area here. I won't, this is a whole other conversation about Little Jamaica, but I'm going to touch on it. They opened in Little Jamaica. and they've been serving food and their delectable patties to the masses. And people go for their food too, but their patties is where it's at. So as I said earlier, there's saltfish, vegetarian, chicken, beef, and you can get it spicy, non-spicy, and it's encased in the flaky gold buttery shell. So it's a problem. Okay, it's a problem. And and you can also get it with cocoa bread. So you can have your cocoa bread and put your patty in between, and you have your little ting on the side, and you got yourself a meal, man. So you're good to go. So it was the only patty place in Toronto that like really made me drop down to my knees. It's that good. So it's a huge bone of contention up here when you're asked, "Oh, where's the best patty spot in Toronto?" We've got quite a few spots, but Randy's is known as one of the best. And the moment the word started to spread about its closure, people were losing their minds. So even Drake piped up, and he stepped up to the plate and he wrote under there's Tyrone Edwards. He's a Canadian media personality. And Tyrone wrote, this can't be happening. This is crazy because like people go there and there are lines outside until they sell out of patties. This is how prominent this place is. So Drake posted underneath Tyrone's post and he said, "I'm ready to buy it right now. What's going on?" So we're like, okay, if he can help to keep the store afloat, that's how important this spot is. Like people know. So if Drake steps in, y'all know. And yeah, just think of that. That's it. Now, the reasons for the closure were due to, of course, various issues, including COVID, of course,
Mm.
supply shortages, of course. The owners are getting older, and there's we have a Metrolinx crosstown project that's been going on. So now I'll tell you about this project a little bit as well. But this is a lot more than just the patties itself. It's the loss of an institution. It's a Toronto institution, and it's the loss of a black family-owned business. It's the loss of another store in Little Jamaica. The corridor that Little Jamaica is in has been chiseled away during the past 10 years, um, and there are a lot of store closures because of the massive Metrolinx undertaking. So it's a project that's going to have a train going from one end of the city to the next, and it began in 2011. It's had so many delays. We're now in 2023. So can you imagine how many stores have closed because they could not keep up with the massive construction that's going on? There's fencing, there's stuff being uprooted. It was a disaster area. It really, really was. It was really bad. And it's been going on forever. So what was seen as a way to connect the community has also now become a hindrance, and it's been detrimental to the loss of the people's livelihoods and to the Caribbean culture because it's something that we're losing. So apart from Drake, there have been many people that have been really gung ho about how can we donate funds, how can we seek out options in order to assist to keep them afloat. So we'll see in time. We'll only see, like I guess what's going to happen or what's going to transpire within the next few weeks. But right now, they had put up something on their site saying that they are closing this Saturday, and people are in denial, and it's really rough to see that an institution like that is going to be closed down. So it sucks to see it go, but yeah, what can you do to save community institutions that are on the brink, right? Unless community gets together and supports in some way, or and again, it depends too on what the institution like what they want themselves. Maybe the elderly family members don't want to work anymore. So if Drake ends up buying it hypothetically, who's going to work? Who's going to, are they still going to keep it within the family? Are they going to just sell it and have Drake carry on? I don't know. There's so many different questions and different variables to work with, but the fact that it's closing down is heartbreaking. And the lineups today were beyond insane, which is great to see because it's community coming out to support. But again, they're closing, right? So that's my no today. I'm just everybody's just really pissed and in denial. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep you posted, but it's kind of looking like it's done.
I mean, well, I think if Drake is willing to put in that infusion. Now, I know Drake is half black and half white, but is he half West Indian black? Is he half? Like,
He
is
is
he Jamaican?
American black. No, his
Oh,
father's
his
from.
okay. So this is
His
just
father's
him
American.
recognizing the value of this institution for Toronto, not necessarily because it's his own culture.
Um, yeah, yeah. But I
Okay.
think here's the thing, though, is like in Toronto, it's kind of a different vibe, man. Because Toronto, it's like you have people from certain areas, and of course everybody is kind of infused with a little bit of Caribbean culture, and especially here, Jamaican
Mhm.
culture is really huge. So everybody knows what a patty is. Everybody knows what a roti. If it's not roti, it's a roti. But everybody knows what a roti is. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
growing
So
up,
even if you're
Drake
not of the
knows.
culture, you're still of the culture.
You still of the culture. Yeah,
Got
for
you.
real, for
Got
real,
you.
for real.
Yeah, we had
So
similar
yeah.
things happen in DC. For DC folks, y'all remember Horse and Dickie's was the fish spot, the fried fish spot that everybody would go to after partying in the clubs or being out too late. You would go to Horse and Dickie's, get a fish sandwich, which they would be like 5 pieces of fish in between some wheat bread or white bread, and it'd be like a ridiculous size sandwich like this thick.
My God.
But I mean, we loved Horace and Dickies and had been there for decades, and off of H Street, and gentrification. It wasn't COVID in that situation; it was gentrification. Just like they kept building up the neighborhood, and then it just kind of was like these long lines of hood folks for Horace and
Mhm.
Dickies was no longer attractive for that neighborhood. We also Uncle Ben's Chili Bowl, in DC
Yeah,
is also pretty
yeah.
famous, and I think there was a minute where there was some concerns, but I think other people came in, or the second generation family not only doubled down because when Obama became president
No
and went
bump.
there,
Mhm, mhm,
it
mhm.
went from being just something that only people from DC knew about, being Chili Bowl, to being like an international sensation, and the lines were suddenly out the door. So much so that
Right.
they created a upscale restaurant right next door to Ben's Chili
Mhm,
Bowl, which also had some really great food. And Wes used to do the music there, from Raheem Devon's
mhm,
Urban
mhm.
Avenue, Wes Felton. And
It's
so
well done, yeah.
he used to
Mhm,
yeah, Wes Felton used to curate the music there. I used to go up in there, so it was cool. So I mean, this is not new. Detroit, where I've also lived, there was a whole avenue that went through something similar what you're describing with this Metro Links, where Avenue of
mhm.
Fashion, where they started this kind of supposed to be an upgrade of the streets, and it meant that people weren't able to park, to go and peruse those businesses, and they tried to come up with alternatives to help people be able to still find parking, but then they start messing with the sidewalks, and people couldn't walk along the sidewalks. It was a mess for those businesses, but I think that there was some, like, because there was definitely a community outcry, because it was hurting. These are mostly black businesses who had
Exactly.
withstood, all of the horrors that Detroit businesses had gone through during the lean years prior to the new reinvestment in Detroit. They had stuck it
Mhm.
out, like they had survived, and then like here comes the city's plans, to supposedly upgrade it, are actually hurting the businesses because it was more than a year. If you imagine you running a business and people can't you can't get foot traffic business, people can't park in front of your
Right.
business to be able to come and access you.
Mhm.
Even if it's, they're like, oh, I love this place, but once they start going someplace else to establish new habits, that's your business. So
Right.
there was some, I think the community or the city might have done some investments in, made loans easier for them to get, some other things to try to help facilitate that process so that they didn't lose all of those black businesses on the avenue. But it takes that kind of intentionality. Like, you just can't do these kind of transportation constructions, gentrification upgrades, and assume that these black businesses are going to be able to survive. A lot of us are paycheck to paycheck. The profit margins are slim, and
Mhm, mhm.
even for those businesses, they're not able to access capital and credit the same way that white
I
establishments
was gonna
are.
say the loans. Yeah, yeah. Because
Small
those
Business
projects, those
Administration.
loans, mhm,
Yeah,
like
I
you were
mean, the Small
saying, they
Business
were put
Administration
into
has been
place.
and they've been historically negligent to those businesses, right? Like, and neglectful of those
Mhm,
businesses,
mhm.
and providing them, these kind of short term opportunity loans when they see like something like this is going to happen. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
think you have to. I don't know if what Toronto is about trying to protect the businesses that they are harming, or maybe that was, some people are conspiracy minded and be like, maybe that was the plan all along.
That's what some are saying as well. Trust me, it's been said. It has been said
Yeah,
because
maybe.
it's just that whole entire corridor has suffered so much, and of course, it's little Jamaica, so it's the predominantly black area, of course, right? So yeah, yep. All of that, everything that you said, it's been put into place. So we'll just have to see how it's gonna unfold, and we're hoping for the best. We really are. If even if they have to close down their doors this weekend and then hopefully reopen under new management or funds that have been donated or whatever,
So
something
is
else is
there a
in play.
GoFundMe? Are you aware if there's a GoFundMe campaign for it?
Not yet. Everything started coming to light from last night, and then news started to get a hold of it and everything today. So don't know what's next for them. They had put up a post on their social media on their Instagram stating that as of today that they are closing on Saturday and that they're going to look at other prospects and see what happens, and they'll let us know in the future. But right now they're closing, so
Hopefully
that's where
they
it's at
think.
right now.
Hopefully they consider a food truck. I mean, if it's that as popular as you say,
Huh,
then you don't
that's
have to
another
worry
option.
quite so much about what the neighborhood is or isn't going to do.
Yeah,
Um,
overhead.
you know,
Hmm.
or even a couple of food trucks, right? Like now you got some mobility to be where people are. It's a cheaper option, and then you aren't necessarily as vulnerable to rent rises. That is what often does do in these businesses. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
well, that
True.
is a horrible just no. I hope that they resurrect or save your
Hope so.
patty. Mine, we're gonna pivot to mine, and I'm gonna try to be quick because once again we talk long and got silly. Singer and former R&B divas, reality TV star Kiki Wyatt has announced her 11th pregnancy. This time with husband number three, Zachary David Daring. Now, Wyatt has only really known marriage since he was 18 years old when she got married to her then road manager, Ramat Morton, in the year 2000. She had her first four children in that marriage, including one that was stillborn. The marriage was tumultuous. There was a very famous incident where Kiki ended up having to hurt a man and got
Hmm.
incarcerated around that.
Hmm.
Uh, so, but it was tumultuous and there was intimate partner violence that happened and eventually caused her to divorce him. She had always maintained that she was only defending herself in those situations, that he was the provocateur of those violent incidents. She then, having divorced in 2009, she married Minister Michael Ford in 2010, who already entered the marriage with a child of his own. She'd go on to have five additional children with Ford, who divorced her in 2018 while she was pregnant and dealing with one of her children battling cancer. Now, the internet was pretty merciless to Michael Ford during that period because, well, we have
Raped
seen
him.
Kiki Wyatt on the TV show now some 8 years ago. So I want folks to realize the reality, the R&B Divas was 8 years ago. And who knows what kind of help she's gotten and support she's gotten and healing she's gotten, but she did appear to be a little disturbed on the show. And so, people may have understood why Michael left. And he was very kind of like, he just can't take her no more in an open letter around why he was leaving her
Mm.
while she was pregnant with his child and while she was left to deal with a child battling cancer who survived the cancer, by the way. Sis turned around and then married her childhood boyfriend, Zachary David Daring, her current husband, 2 months after her divorce from Ford was confirmed. Daring and her would go on to have two more children before announcing this latest pregnancy. Now, instead of asking how Wyatt has managed to secure not one, not two, but three husbands back to back, Though the first two are arguably of dubious quality, right? Like we have
Mm-hmm.
abuser
Mm-hmm.
and a man who would leave a pregnant wife and child with cancer. Like I don't care what the
With
circumstances
cancer.
are, that's a dubious person.
Uh-huh.
The internet took to clowning Kiki and comparing her to Nick Cannon, of Eight Children
Mm-mm.
fame. Now, there can be no comparison to Cannon, since all but two of Cannon's children, his twins with then wife Mariah Carey, are out of the confines of marriage. All of the rest of Cannon's children were with different women, some in different states. Nick himself has admitted there aren't enough hours in the day and that he doesn't get to spend as much time with them as he'd like given his very demanding work schedule. He is one of the hardest working men in show
Mm-hmm.
business with multiple properties and productions that he's a part of. Meanwhile, Kiki, woman of God, has only known marriage and children within the confines of marriage for 22 years. She's a stay at home mom when she's not touring to take care of her children, and she has a
Mm-hmm.
whole ass husband right there to help her raise them children. Always has. She has only been single. Now, this for some might be a problem, but she has only been single for 1 year of her entire adult life. Right?
Hmm.
1 year and 2 months of her entire adult life has since been single. All her children appear to be well fed and cared for. None appear to be in trouble with the law. Her oldest is turning 22 this year. So it's not like they're all in the same house right now. Some of these people are good and grown, and
Ah,
a handful are in their teens without any embarrassing TikToks or bad press
right.
moments. They are
Mm-hmm.
housed better than many of us and appear to not be reliving the tragic stories of the DeBarges, though they are equally light skinned. So I
You
don't see what's the problem. It's an insult to Wyatt to compare her to Cannon, who is a provider in finances only, not presence. Y'all said black women should have only have kids in the confines of marriage. Kiki Wyatt has done that. Y'all said black women should only have kids you can afford. She has done that. She ain't on the welfare. Y'all said black women be Christian. The lady sings God's praises daily and tours the church circuit. Leave Kiki Wyatt and her uterus, her very active, very fruitful uterus, alone. and check
right?
your and check your massage noir that would find
Mm.
fault with black women and their uteruses. Leave their names out of your mouths. It ain't your body. It ain't your choice. It ain't your relationships. Mind your business. Mind your
Please
business.
and thank
This
you.
made
Right?
CNN. This wasn't even just black news, y'all. This made
Are you
CNN.
kidding me?
There is a CNN news post about Kiki Wyatt and her 11th pregnancy announcement. Like, why is like she's like Venus Hottentot? Like, why is this news? Why is this national? She didn't have all 11 of the children at one time. Like, if she had like done that, then yes, I could see the circus atmosphere around this particular
Of
announcement. But the
course.
woman, the woman has had the children spread out over several
In
years.
her marriage. In her
Right.
marriages at that.
This ain't even
So
doubling down with the Derricos. Y'all have been kinder to the Derricos, who I think have 14 kids between all of them in a reality TV show. I don't hear near the shade towards the Derricos
hmm,
that we have heard in the last week against Kiki Wyatt. So, what you think
hmm.
about this, Miss AMC, as a mother of one? Are you feeling?
Right? One and done. Cha. But congratulations, Kiki. Number one. Number two, y'all need to step the hell back and let the girl live, okay? Don't even get me started about Mr. Nick Cannon because that's a whole other conversation about sowing your royal oats. That's what that is. Kiki is here in her marriages. She is doing what she's doing. She is raising her children quietly in the confines of her abode. Leave her be. Again, stop policing these women and their uteruses, as you said. Please leave them be. It's as easy as that. People just fast and like to be in people's business, and of course, like to judge and don't pay attention to the finer details. right? So like read the small print. It's not even small print. It's all there for you to see. Just read it and you'll know. You know she's married. She's been in situations. She's everything is all family orientated. You're not hearing about her children on drugs. You're not hearing like all kinds of drama. There's not leave her be. She is not your business. Just leave her be. I think because the kids are in double digits. That's number one. Number two, you said a mouthful when you just said Venus Hottentot. That's number two. Perspective is everything. So yeah, these are really big things on the list that people are going to see and judge and stay in their little corners and do what they do. I think Kiki is just fine where she is. Leave her be.
Yeah,
Honestly.
I mean, and some people really went in about the negligence of, like, no matter how much you love or take care of the kids, even if they're in the same house, it's not possible to give them all the time and attention that they need. I was an only child till I was 14. I spent an enormous amount of time by myself. Right? Like, it didn't
Hmm.
matter that I had like so my mom did have two more children later, like 14 and 18 years later. Um so you don't have to have eight kids in order for you to have a child that spends a lot of time by themselves and aren't always observed. And I mean, not that my mother was neglectful, but she had to work. you know
Hmm.
Kiki's a stay-at-home mom when she's not working. My mom was working crazy hours so she can make ends meet. I was a latchkey kid from like age 10. So, like, this idea that if you have less kids, those kids are somehow more observed, more have more presence, more time with. That's not necessarily so. I mean, and quite frankly, as I've said in threads around this issue, until about 50 years ago, people having 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 kids was the norm for
Yeah,
centuries. Now, a lot of
of
that was
course.
because of agrarian societies, and we didn't have good birth control, and a
Hmm.
lot of those kids weren't necessarily wanted, and some of those parents didn't necessarily want to be parents. But the times and the constructs of the that determined those decisions around reproductive health and reproductive rights, which some of which
Hmm.
may be taken away
Hmm.
from y'all real soon by the Supreme Court, um, like, dictated a lot of things that does have some parents who are like, I was neglected in my eight kids family. Well, your mom might not have wanted to be a mother. My grandmother did not, and my family might feel a way about me saying this, but my grandmother did not really want to be no mother. She damn sure didn't want to be no
Hmm.
mother to no six kids. And the second she could be free of that, sis put on her mini skirt and her Tina Turner wigs, and she hit them streets and
She
left them
is
kids to
gone.
fend for themselves. Right? Like, that's my
Mm.
grandmother's story, right? Like, for real. The second she had an
Yeah.
opportunity to break away from those constraints and live the life she
Yeah.
really wanted to live all along, she did that. So I mean, like, so every story about, oh my, because there was a lot of kids, there's a lot that went into why some of those kids might have felt neglected, and it may not have anything to do with the fact that there were so many of them. Some of the people didn't want to be parents.
I hear you. I hear you. For sure. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of things too is that a lot of people we're seeing everything from the outside, and we're going to make assumptions. So we do not know what is going on in her under her four walls. Lord have mercy, under her roof. Lord,
It's getting late,
we don't know
y'all. We
what's
almost at the end of the stories.
we don't know what's transpiring, right? And again, like those kids, usually you would already hear something. You know what I mean? Something would have come up. A child would have been on TikTok talking about my mama this, my mama that. And if those kids were like unruly and disgusting, something would have come out already. So the fact that she's had her 11 children or, 10 children and nothing has come out, and she runs her household the way she wants to run it, and it's clearly none of our business. We don't know what's taking part. We don't know how love is being dispersed. We don't know shit. So all you can do is fall back. I think privacy is a whole other thing. I of course there are always exceptions, like if there's abuse or something like that. That's when you tend to want to know and kind of just, I don't want to say pry, but you want to know the facts. You basically want to know the facts. But in this case, there is nothing to report. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. This is not news. Nothing. So,
And I remember when Kirk Franklin, I mean, and even if one of the kids, let's say one of the kids do come out with some, Kiki's crazy. I mean, because that's already in the ether, right? Like that's already out in the world that
yeah, yeah.
Kiki is somehow mentally unwell and this, that, and the other, right? Like that's already kind of been floating around out there for years. I mean, and she doesn't do herself no favors because she's silly, right? Like she does all these kind of silly videos where she's rolling her eyes and, and acting a nut.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but again, it's been 8 years since we've seen that show. But I remember when Kirk Franklin's son came out and was like talking about how his dad isn't who
Mhm.
y'all think
Mhm.
he is, and this and the other. And
Mhm.
Kirk and his
Mhm.
wife have several children. There was no kind of like, the people were like, well, defending Kirk and rushing to his defense. And it was like, we don't know what's going on in that household. We don't know what, that child probably disrespectful. That child probably doesn't,
Right.
right? But I don't,
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
very seriously doubt if any of Kiki's kids were to do that. I think what we would get was as a very different narrative. I think we would get a narrative where it's like, oh, we told you them children ain't being treated well like that with that crazy lady. Da 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 da. I don't see her getting the
Mhm.
kind of
Mhm. Mhm.
grace or presumption of innocence that Kirk Franklin got.
Not at
Because
all. Mm-mm.
because
Yeah.
we're much quicker to want to believe something negative about the households of black women. And we try to act like
Yes.
that woman ain't married. Like some people kept saying, well, how's she able to run that house? I was like, she ain't by herself. There's a whole husband right there. And this is the thing
Right.
that I actually was really disappointed about. I did not know that she had married her childhood sweetheart
I didn't
until
know that
this
either.
story broke. Right? like,
Mm.
like I want to know how that happened, right? Like, has he been pining for her all this time? Because she got married at
Blast from
18,
the
so
past.
clearly this was
Mhm.
like a high school type of situation, right? So
Right.
that they came back together, and I want to know what that story. I mean, since we're not minding our business, let's mind our business in something positive. Kiki, how did you and your
True.
high school boyfriend, and where you was watching her go with the marriages, like, I want to. So where's the interview for that? I want that interview.
For
And
real, for real. It's true.
and the man is very, he seems very thorough. She has a type, child. She like a little light skinned tall thing. Well, Michael wasn't that tall, but she like a little light skinned thing in the life. But yeah, I mean, so stay out of black women's uteruses. I think that's the moral of the story. So today,
Amen.
folks, we do not have a stories you tell because y'all are shady and petty, and y'all will not give up y'all stories. So I just wanted we real disappointed. I almost was gonna put Anne Marie on the spot, but because we are already at an hour and 42 minutes, we gonna cut it off right after this. Because I was gonna be like, Anne
Ooh.
Marie, give us a sex story that you ain't told nobody, but I know your mama listening. But but y'all gonna make us resort to pulling out sex stories from our past
Oh my
because y'all
god.
don't want to send us the stories. So send us the stories, people. Otherwise, we have
Come
to go to
on now.
the internet because the internet gives. She gives
Oh,
stories.
it's a gift that keeps on giving.
It's a
So,
gift that keeps on giving.
mhm.
So if y'all won't give us some stories, we will start pulling stories from the internet that are crazy to respond to. But we would prefer your stories. We want this to be a conversation. We want this to be an engagement. We
Yes.
want this to be community, y'all. Community.
Hello. Come on now.
So, but until y'all get some act right, you know, no one will tell you about stories you tell. Uh, and with that, we are done for tonight's episode. So, again, folks, if you have not done so far, please be sure to like, subscribe, follow, share on whatever platform you're listening to or watching us on. Also, comment and review where possible so that we can climb the charts of the various platform algorithms this show is on. And now we are ending the show for just tonight. We'll see you in 2 weeks. What are the stories you're telling yourself? And what are the stories you're telling the world? Talk to you later. Gibson Gazette out.
Peace.